Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technologies again with another video. This time we are going to talk about, I got my hands on something real quick. We are going to talk about FTD, or Secure Firewall, and FMC or SMC, depending on who you ask, version 10.0. Now I know you're probably asking, we're just on 7. What happened to 8 and 9? They just decided to go right to 10. So nothing really, you didn't miss version 8 or 9. They just decided to go from 7 to 10. So let me give you a quick disclaimer. This is not gold standard. Do not, under any circumstances, put this on your production firewalls. If you do, and there's a bug that hasn't been fixed yet and it brings down your network, you have officially caused a resume changing event. So put this in your lab or your staging environment and play around with it. Now I'm just going to show you a feature today with dynamic attributes where you can use posture now to actually enforce or manipulate policy on the firewall. This is something that you couldn't do before. Now, if you don't know anything about dynamic attributes, I'm going to put a video somewhere up here, or put the link in the description below. You can watch that and you can learn about dynamic attribute connector and how you can use that to dynamically adjust your APC rules with whatever you're connecting with. Could be, Zoom, could be WebEx, could be something in vCenter, whatever it is. Watch that video to learn a little bit about dynamic attribute connector and then come back to this, because this is technically a dynamic attribute connector, but it's a new connector where you can use the posture or MDM conditions to, manipulate your ACP rule. So it's kind of new and it's kind of cool. Now, I got a favor for you, or from you. If you like this video and you got some value from it, please don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend, because now that I got this, the new version, I'm probably going to put out a lot more videos as I'm like learning the new stuff for it. This is Secure Firewall is pretty much my primary skill set. So I'm kind of excited that they came out with version 10.0. With that being said, let's get in the lab and I'll show you exactly what this looks like. So here's 10.0. So first things first, let's congratulate Cisco on unifying the experience, unifying the UI. If you are a security cloud control person or you got secure access, you are very familiar with this look here, right? Especially with the menus, right? You're very familiar with this look. Now, it allows you to not have to worry about, oh, where did they put this at? Where did they put this? What menu did they put this at? It's pretty much the same, right? So now you got your insights and reports, your event logs. Everything is still the same from a menu standpoint, but this GUI has now been unified with security account control. So now you do not have to worry about, weird stuff like, oh, this looks different than security cloud control. So shouts out to Cisco for doing that. Now, what I need Cisco to do, or what not to do, is attempt to change the GUI because they just want to change the GUI. This works, stick to this. Don't change it. Now, the other thing you'll notice is this thing called shadow traffic. Now, I haven't looked at this yet, but I'm going to be looking at this a little in more detail, because this shadow traffic thing looks kind of cool and I want to see what this is. So I'm going to read up a little bit more on this and then I'll create a video on what shadow traffic is. Now, encrypted visibility engine, we all know what that is, but they did it differently when you do it in the ACP rule, and I'll show you what that looks like in a later video. But the ACP rule, when you enable Eve, looks totally different now. But let's focus on what we need to focus on, and this is using posture to manipulate ACP rules. So this is a dynamic attribute connector. So when you go to integration and you go to dynamic attribute connector, now, I showed you in the previous video these three: Office 365, WebEx, and Zoom. This dynamically changes based on, some feeds that it bring in. But what I want to show you down here is the new one, which is ISE PX Grid. So if you do PX Grid or integrate PX Grid with the FMC, it allows you to get the ANC policies. It allows you to get SGTs and stuff like that, so you can use those in your, you can use the ANCs in your remediation instance and correlation rules, and you can use your SGTs in your ACPs or ACE entries that are in your ACPs. But with this, what it allows you to do, now there's two integrations here. There's your on-prem, There's PX Grid Cloud, and you can use Duo, Cisco, and Identity Intelligence, which is the CII. Now, I also did a video on CII. If you haven't seen that, it'll be up here somewhere. I'll put it in the description as well. CII is basically identity intelligence, allows you to see like impossible travel, stuff like that, see if your, identity has been compromised and stuff like that, and it gives you a risk score. So you can also take that, integrate it into the FTD, and then dynamically change access based on risk scores. So let's say someone was logged in, but unfortunately their identity got compromised and now they're at a high risk. Well, what would happen is it would change the scoring. Once you integrate it with the FMC, it would change the score to risk, and then you would have a rule that says if this is high risk, block it, right? So you can dynamically change that. Now, I haven't done that one yet, but I will be showing you the PX Grid one. So if you look at this here, there are system defined ones when you do this integration. The first one is posture status is compliant. Let me just show you here. The posture status is compliant, or the MDM is registered and compliant, right? Those are the two rules. Two rules. Then the untrusted devices would be if the status was non-compliant, the device was registered, and the compliance was false. So this is an OR. Now you see it's OR because you got it under here, but I kind of like it. I like how it's red here because you can see the OR there, right? Now, either way, it's based on your compliance. So once you have this compliancy here, and they have the CII that I did not do yet, so look out for those videos. But since we're going to use the PX grid, what this does when you initiate this is it creates a rule, a policy set actually, called dynamic firewall policy. Now I changed it to this just for this demonstration. I changed it to my HQ firewalls, which are here now. Now these used to be FortiGates, but I switched them out to Secure Firewalls version 10.0 because you only do this 10.0, just so you can see what this looks like. So what it actually does is when you open this up, it will create a rule here. Now I changed the rule name, but it will create a rule to block anything that's untrusted. So it creates this rule here. Right now I changed it to something else, but it says anything that's an untrusted device, basically non-compliant, or it's not compliant from an MDM perspective, or quarantine SGT, we're going to block it. Anything. Now, if you pay close attention, look at my internet rule. My internet rule is using the dynamic attribute trusted devices going out to the internet. I'm not using subnets. I'm using something based on a posture condition, right? So, with that being said, that's the entire setup, right? You set up the dynamic attribute connector, you set up the PX grid connector, you actually have to have ICE. So this is where ecosystem, I always tell you ecosystems play nice together. So don't make the mistake and try to mix and match because, pricing. Now I understand if, budget can't do it, but it's better to live within someone's ecosystem because they play nice together than to try to, string up multiple ecosystems with APIs and stuff like that because they may not play nice. But I have ICE on the back end, which I'll show you. I'll drag it over here. And then we're going to open up a machine. We're going to disconnect or reconnect. And then I'm going to show you what happens when you do that. So first and foremost, let's look at this machine here. We're going to log in. And what I'm going to do here, since it's already compliant, I'm going to simulate a reconnect and a disconnect and reconnect. So we're going to simulate that right here. We're going to disconnect. All right. And then we're going to reconnect. And you see that my posture thing is scanning over here. And once that goes, now the condition and the requirement here is just the firewall has to be on. And I'm not doing anything from a remediation action. So if it's off, it's just going to say it's off, right? So now when I pull up ICE over here, let me show you. When I pull up ICE, now you can see that was the machine because I'm using certificate-based authentication. computer certificates. I've done that plenty of times. Got plenty of videos. Watch those so you get a little better understanding what that is. But the main thing I want you to see is I'm hitting the compliant, right? I'm hitting compliance. So that's the IP address 192.168.8.55. So I'm hitting compliance. So we're good there. Now watch what happens when I did that. So now that I hit compliance and I had that PX grid connector, let me slide this over here. What's going to happen is if I go to objects and it's a little menu right here that says external attributes. If I hit dynamic objects, just like in the dynamic attributes connector video, all these dynamic objects will come into play. And the one I want you to focus on is trusted devices. See, that number is 2. Now, one of these is going to be because I was hitting the safety rule, so it's like a 169 address. That's not really a valid address. But you will notice that 192.168.8.55 is in there. Okay, so I'm dynamically mapping through ISE, radius session, and PX grid. I am sending that contextual information, who, what, where, when, and how, to the FMC, which is dynamically taking that IP address from the session and saying you're going to be in the object trusted devices. So now the FTDs know there's a mapping that says trusted devices, here's the IP addresses in the trusted devices that you're going to allow out to the internet. Make sense? So now, let's say if this was non-compliant, this would be removed and be in the non-compliant or the untrusted devices. So this allows me to not have to really worry about subnet, using subnets in the policy. Now, I will tell you that PX grid integration is now super important for your firewall. Same thing with SGTs. If you're using things like SGTs and stuff like that in your firewall, that connection has to be stable, because if you lose it, all of this goes to crap, right? And then you have a bigger problem. But as you can see, 192.168.8.55 is now in that group, which will map to the policy. So if I come back and slide this back over here, if I go and try to go to the internet, we'll just do a ping right quick. Let's just validate ping works. Maybe if I don't use commas. So internet, I can get out to the internet. And let's open up Edge. So you know I'm about to hit a whole advertisement for Microsoft here. When you open up Edge, they just get me to the browser, man. I wish they would just not do this. And I don't even, yeah, it's literally waiting for something behind. Yep, there it is. Knew that was happening. So let's just continue. Can I just start browsing, please? Thank you. So let's just go to, like, I always go like all right, let's go to NBA, just so you see that I can actually get out to the internet here. Now there's no SSL decryption. SSL decryption is sort of new. So at least the way they do it in 10.0. So I'm going to set up SSL encryption later, show you a video about that in 10.0. But if you want to see that, I got videos on SSL encryption on the FMC as well, or FTD as well. So as you can see, I can get out to the internet. Now that shows you, hey, I'm using the PX Grid dynamic attribute connector to dynamically change who and what can get to the internet based on their compliance status, right? So if they're non-compliant, this wouldn't happen. I would be blocked. So what does that look like in the logs though? So we would go to events and logs, unified events, and then let's see what we got here. We're just gonna pick one. So as you can see, the source IP 192.168.8.55 was going to Google, all this other stuff. But let's just open up one and show you what it looks like in more detail. So here's my rule. You see I'm hitting that DAC default internet. So that means I'm hitting that dynamic attributes. And there's a specific reason why I said DAC, because I wanted to differentiate what it was. Now, you see the domain computer SGT that's coming from ISE. Now, I could have created a policy based saying, hey, their domain computers, let them out. But I wanted to specifically use the trusted devices because I wanted you to show this one, right? Using DAC to allow internet access based on compliance. So now if we scroll down here, there should be something about trusted. Yeah, here we go. Source IP dynamic, right? Source IP dynamic attributes, trusted devices. And since I made a rule that says trusted devices, a dynamic attribute called trusted devices is allowed out to the internet, as long as I was compliant, I would be added to trusted devices, that dynamic group, which is in the policy, which now lets me out to the internet. So I could have did trusted devices. I could have did, domain computer SGT. I could have did anything I wanted. But I just wanted to show you that, version 10.0 looked like they got some tricks up their sleeve. And like I always say, Cisco might not get it right the first time. Because if you're from the 6.x days, you know what I'm talking about. But they will eventually get it right, right? And I think with version 10.0, they are going to slowly get it right to the point where they're going to be a serious contender in the market, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is it, man. This is version 10.0. If you haven't done it already, please don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe because I'm going to be doing some more cool stuff, especially with this shadow traffic. I keep looking at it. I'm like, I definitely want to know what that is. Again, this is Don from Padlock Technologies. Again, thank you and have a nice day.